Sometimes a story about one thing is actually about something much, much bigger. A dispute in the super high stakes world of horse racing wound up in court, and it ended up asking a fundamental question about power. One that is, believe it or not, more relevant today than ever before. We're going to dive into what happens when a private kingdom is put on trial.
So our story really kicks off with one of the most prominent figures in the world. I'm talking about the Aga Khan. He's a billionaire. He is the spiritual leader to millions of Malayali Muslims, and for our purposes, an absolute titan in the world of horse racing. And right at the heart of this whole controversy was his incredible prize-winning horse, Elisa. Now, this horse was a true champion, a superstar on the track. She was basically destined for greatness and represented not just a huge investment, but also a ton of pride. But then, right after a major victory, something happened that nobody saw coming. A decision was made that just sent shockwaves through the entire racing community. And it set the stage for a legal battle that was completely unprecedented. So what was that decision? Elisa was disqualified. Yep, stripped of her win. Why? Because a banned substance was found in a post-race test. For the Aga Khan, though, this wasn't just about losing a race. He saw it as a deep injustice, and he was absolutely determined to fight it.
And this is the moment the story pivots. It moves from the racetrack right into the courtroom, and it raises this massive question. When a private organization has absolute power over an entire industry, can the courts actually do anything to hold it accountable? So yeah, this was not your average lawsuit, not by a long shot. This was a true clash of titans. It pitted one of the world's most influential men against one of the oldest, most powerful private institutions in all of Britain. So let's just look at the two sides here. On one side, you have the Aga Khan, a man with just immense personal wealth and global influence. And on the other side, the Jockey Club. This is a centuries-old organization that for all practical purposes had a complete monopoly. They were the undisputed rulers of British horse racing. They made the rules, they enforced the rules, and there was simply no one else to appeal to. So when you're facing an organization that seems completely unchallengeable, what do? Well, the Aga Khan's legal team got creative. They came up with this really bold legal strategy, something that had never really been tried before. The legal tool they wanted to use is called judicial review. Now, this is a seriously powerful procedure where a court can step in and check if a decision was made fairly. But, and this is the whole catch, it is almost exclusively used to challenge public bodies, like government departments. In the Jockey Club, it was a private club.
So, how on earth did they try to get around that massive hurdle? Well, their argument was actually brilliant. They said, look, okay, maybe the Jockey Club is private on paper, but in reality, it holds a total monopoly. Its decisions don't just affect its own members. They affect the livelihoods of trainers, jockeys, the public betting on races, the whole industry. So, they argued, it acts like a public authority, and because of that, its decisions have to be open to a fairness check from the courts. The argument was made, the case was heard, and pretty much the entire legal and racing world was holding its breath. The court was about to hand down a landmark verdict, one that would draw a really clear line in the sand between what counts as public power and what counts as private power. In the end, the court didn't buy the argument. The final judgment was crystal clear. This quote from the ruling really says it all. The judges decided that the Jockey Club's power, no matter how huge it was not governmental. It came from a private agreement, a contract, between its members, not from the state. All right, let's break down their logic because it's super important. The court looked at three things. First, where did the power come from? Well, it came from a private contract among its members who agreed to follow the rules. Second, what was its function? It was regulating a private sport, not providing a public service like healthcare. And third, what was the government's role? Zero. The government hadn't given the Jockey Club any power at all. It was, in the eyes of the law, a private kingdom, and the court wasn't going to use a public law tool to storm the castle. So the Aga Khan lost. But the legacy of this decision from all the way back in 1993 echoes so powerfully today, especially now as we're all trying to figure out how to deal with the incredible power of other giant private organizations. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, the court drew a really firm line in the sand. If an organization's power doesn't come from the government, public law tools like judicial review just aren't on the table. And this principle has huge implications for how we think about holding other massive private bodies accountable. We're talking everything from huge sporting organizations like FIFA to the big tech companies that basically shape our digital world. Any challenge against them usually have to be fought using private law, like suing for a breach of contract, which is a much, much tougher fight.
And that leaves us with a really provocative final thought. This 30-year-old horse racing case has basically framed the legal world we live in now. If the courts are going to maintain this super strict separation, and all these private giants just keep getting more and more powerful, it forces us to ask a really tough question. Who's left to hold them accountable?